Emery Andrew Tate III was born on December 1, 1986, in Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. He is mixed race. His African-American father Emery Tate was a chess international master and his English mother worked as a catering assistant. He has a younger brother, Tristan. He was raised in Chicago, Illinois, and Goshen, Indiana. After his parents divorced, his mother took both brothers to England. Tate was raised in the Christian faith. Tate began practicing kickboxing in 2005 and gained his first championship in 2009. He attracted wider attention in 2016, when he appeared on the British reality show Big Brother and was removed after his comments on social media attracted controversy. He began offering paid courses and memberships through his website and rose to fame as an internet celebrity, promoting an ultra-masculine, ultra-luxurious lifestyle. Tate's misogynistic commentary has resulted in his suspension from several social media platforms. On December 29, 2022, Andrew and his brother Tristan were arrested in Romania along with 2 women. All 4 are suspected of human trafficking and forming an organized crime group. Romanian police allege that the group coerced victims into creating paid pornography for social media. On March 31, 2023, all 4 were moved to house arrest while the investigation continued, after being held in custody since their arrest. On June 20, they were charged with rape, human trafficking and forming an organized crime group to sexually exploit women. Tate started practicing boxing and other martial arts in 2005, and worked in the TV advertising industry to support himself. In November 2008, he was ranked the 7th best light heavyweight kickboxer in Britain by the International Sport Kickboxing Association, ISKA. In 2009, he gained his first championship when he won the British ISKA Full Contact Cruiserweight Championship in Derby, and was ranked number 1 in his division in Europe. Tate's kickboxing nickname was King Cobra. In 2011, Tate won his first ISKA world title in a rematch against Jean-Luc Benoit via knockout, having previously lost to Benoit by decision. In 2012, Tate lost the Infusion Championship tournament to Francis Gries. Before his loss, he was ranked 2nd best light heavyweight kickboxer in the world. In 2013, Tate won his 2nd ISKA world title in a 12-round match against Vincent Petitjean, making him world champion in 2 weight divisions. Tate came to public attention in 2016 when he appeared on the British reality show Big Brother, during its 17th series. While appearing on the show, he came under scrutiny for having made homophobic and racist comments on Twitter. He was removed from the show after 6 days, with producers citing a video apparently showing him hitting a woman with a belt. Tate and the woman said that they were friends and that the actions in the video were consensual. Vice later reported that the removal was caused by an ongoing police investigation, closed in 2019 with no charges filed. In 2017, Tate moved from the United Kingdom to Romania. He said that he moved because he liked living in countries where corruption is accessible for everybody and believed that it would be less likely to face rape charges in Romania, stating that Romanian police would ask women reporting rapes for evidence or CCTV proof, whereas in the Western world, amid the Me Too movement, Tate said that any woman at any point in the future can destroy your life. Tate was raised Christian, and later became an atheist. By early 2022, he identified as a Christian again, and said that he tithed £16,000 to the Romanian Orthodox Church on a monthly basis. After a video of him praying at a mosque in Dubai went viral in October 2022, he announced on his Twitter account that he had converted to Islam. On March 4, 2023, while incarcerated in Romania, Tate's legal team stated he has a dark spot on his lung, most likely a tumor, following a medical consultation in Dubai, sparking online rumors related to whether he has lung cancer. On March 5, Tate denied on Twitter that he had cancer. In January 2023, Vice News reported that Tate had been accused by 2 women of rape, and by another of repeated strangulation, which Tate denied. In 2019, after a 4-year investigation, the Crown Prosecution Service declined to file charges for any of the allegations, stating that the evidence did not meet our legal test, and there was no realistic prospect of a conviction, and that it would be wrong to say there was just one.
Messi was born on June 24, 1987 in Rosario, Santa Fe, the third of four children of Jorge Messi, a steel factory manager, and his wife Celia Cuccittini, who worked in a magnet manufacturing workshop. On his father's side, he is of Italian and Spanish descent, the great-grandson of immigrants from the north-central Adriatic Marche region of Italy, and on his mother's side, he has primarily Italian ancestry. Growing up in a tight-knit, football-loving family, Leo developed a passion for the sport from an early age, playing constantly with his older brothers, Rodrigo and Matias, and his cousins, Maximiliano and Emanuele Biancucci, both of whom became professional footballers. At the age of 4 he joined local club Grandoli, where he was coached by his father, though his earliest influence as a player came from his maternal grandmother, Celia, who accompanied him to training and matches. He was greatly affected by her death, shortly before his 11th birthday. Since then, as a devout Roman Catholic, he has celebrated his goals by looking up and pointing to the sky in tribute to his grandmother. A lifelong supporter of Newell's Old Boys, Messi joined the Rosario club when he was 6 years old. During the 6 years he played for Newell's, he scored almost 500 goals as a member of the Machine of '87, the near-unbeatable youth side named for the year of their birth, and regularly entertained crowds by performing ball tricks during halftime of the first team's home games. However, his future as a professional player was threatened when, age 10, he was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency. As his father's health insurance covered only 2 years of growth hormone treatment, which cost at least $1,000 per month, Newell's agreed to contribute, but later reneged on their promise. He was scouted by Buenos Aires club River Plate, whose playmaker, Pablo Aimar, he idolized, but they declined to pay for his treatment. His goal-scoring idol growing up was Ronaldo, with Messi calling him the best forward I've ever seen. As the Messi family had relatives in Catalonia, they sought to arrange a trial with Barcelona in September 2000. First-team director Charlie Reixach immediately wanted to sign him, but the board of directors hesitated. At the time it was highly unusual for European clubs to sign foreign players of such a young age. On 14th of December, an ultimatum was issued for Barcelona to prove their commitment, and Reixach, with no other paper at hand, offered a contract on a paper napkin. In February 2001, the family relocated to Barcelona, where they moved into an apartment near the club's stadium, Camp Nou. During his first year in Spain, Messi rarely played with the Infantiles due to a transfer conflict with Newell's. As a foreigner, he could only be fielded in friendlies and the Catalan League. Without football, he struggled to integrate into the team, already reserved by nature. He was so quiet that his teammates initially believed he was mute. At home, he suffered from homesickness after his mother moved back to Rosario with his brothers and little sister, Maria Sol, while he stayed in Barcelona with his father. After a year at Barcelona's youth academy, La Masia, Messi was finally enrolled in the Royal Spanish Football Federation, RFEF, in February 2002. Now playing in all competitions, he befriended his teammates, among whom were Cesc Fabregas and Gerard Piqué. After completing his growth hormone treatment aged 14, Messi became an integral part of the Baby Dream team, Barcelona's greatest ever youth side. During his first full season, 2002-03, he was top scorer with 36 goals in 30 games for the Cadetes A, who won an unprecedented treble of the league and both the Spanish and Catalan Cups. The Copa Catalunya final, a 4-1 victory over Espanyol, became known in club lore as the Partido de la Máscara, the final of the mask. A week after suffering a broken cheekbone during a league match, Messi was allowed to start the game on the condition that he wear a plastic protector. Soon hindered by the mask, he took it off and scored 2 goals in 10 minutes before his substitution. At the close of the season, he received an offer to join Arsenal, his first from a foreign club, but while Fabregas and Piqué soon left for England, he chose to remain in Barcelona. During the 2003-04 season, his fourth with Barcelona, Messi rapidly progressed through the club's ranks, debuting for a record 5 youth teams in a single campaign. After being named player of the tournament in 4 international preseason competitions with the Juveniles B, he played only one official match with the team before being promoted to the Juveniles A, where he scored 18 goals in 11 league games. Messi was then one of several youth players called up to strengthen a depleted first team during the international break. French winger Ludovic Joly explained how Messi caught.
Charles was born at 2114 GMT on November 14, 1948, during the reign of his maternal grandfather, King George VI. He was the first child of Princess Elizabeth, Duchess of Edinburgh, later Queen Elizabeth II, and Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. His parents had 3 more children: Anne, born 1950, Andrew, born 1960, and Edward, born 1964. On December 15, 1948, at 4 weeks old, he was christened Charles Philip Arthur George in the music room of Buckingham Palace by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Geoffrey Fisher. As a titled member of the royal family, he rarely uses a surname. George VI died on February 6, 1952, and Charles's mother acceded to the throne as Elizabeth II. Charles immediately became the heir apparent. Under a charter of Edward III in 1337, and as the monarch's eldest son, he automatically assumed the traditional titles of Duke of Cornwall and, in the Scottish peerage, the titles Duke of Rothesay, Earl of Carrick, Baron of Renfrew, Lord of the Isles, and Prince and Great Steward of Scotland. On 2nd of June the following year, Charles attended his mother's coronation at Westminster Abbey. When Charles turned 5, a governess, Catherine Peebles, was appointed to oversee his education at Buckingham Palace. Charles then commenced classes at Hill House School in West London on November 7, 1956. He was the first heir apparent to attend school, rather than be educated by a private tutor. He did not receive preferential treatment from the school's founder and headmaster, Stuart Townend, who advised the Queen to have Charles train in football, because the boys were never deferential to anyone on the football field. Charles subsequently attended 2 of his father's former schools, Cheam School in Hampshire, from 1958, followed by Gordonstone, in the northeast of Scotland, beginning classes there in April 1962. In his 1994 authorized biography by Jonathan Dimbleby, Charles's parents were described as physically and emotionally distant, and Philip was blamed for his disregard of Charles's sensitive nature, including forcing him to attend Gordonstone, where he was bullied. Though Charles reportedly described Gordonstone, noted for its especially rigorous curriculum, as Colditz in kilts, he later praised the school, stating it had taught him a great deal about myself and my own abilities and disabilities. He said in a 1975 interview he was glad he had attended Gordonstone and that the toughness of the place was much exaggerated. In 1966, Charles spent 2 terms at the Timbertop campus of Geelong Grammar School in Victoria, Australia, during which time he visited Papua New Guinea on a school trip with his history tutor, Michael Collins Pearce. In 1973, Charles described his time at Timbertop as the most enjoyable part of his whole education. Upon his return to Gordonstone, Charles emulated his father in becoming head boy and left in 1967, with 6 GCE O-levels and 2 A-levels in history and French, at grades B and C respectively. On his education, Charles later remarked, "I didn't enjoy school as much as I might have, but that was only because I'm happier at home than anywhere else." Charles broke royal tradition when he proceeded straight to university after his A-levels, rather than joining the British Armed Forces. In October 1967, he was admitted to Trinity College, Cambridge, where he studied archaeology and anthropology for the first part of the tripos and then switched to history for the second part. During his second year, Charles attended the University College of Wales in Aberystwyth, studying Welsh history and the Welsh language for 1 term. Charles became the first British heir apparent to earn a university degree, graduating on June 23, 1970 from the University of Cambridge with a 2:2 Bachelor of Arts, BA, degree. Following standard practice, on August 2, 1975, his Bachelor of Arts was promoted to a Master of Arts, MA Cantab, degree. Charles was created Prince of Wales and Earl of Chester on July 26, 1958, though his investiture was not held until July 1, 1969, when he was crowned by his mother in a televised ceremony held at Carnarvon Castle. The investiture was controversial in Wales owing to growing Welsh nationalist sentiment. He took his seat in the House of Lords the following year and he delivered his maiden speech on June 13, 1974, the first royal to speak from the floor since the future Edward VII in 1884. He spoke again in 1975. Charles began to take on more public duties, founding the Prince's Trust in 1976 and traveling to the United States in 1981. In the mid-90s, Diana Frances Spencer was born on July 1, 1961 at Park House, Sandringham, Norfolk. She was the fourth of 5 children of John Spencer, Viscount Althorp, 1924–1992, and Frances Spencer, Viscountess Althorp, née Roche, 1936–2004. The Spencer family had been closely allied with the British royal family for several generations. Her grandmothers, Cynthia Spencer, Countess Spencer, and Ruth Roche, Baroness Fermoy, had served as ladies-in-waiting to Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother. Her parents were hoping for a boy to carry on the family line, and no name was chosen for a week until they settled on Diana Frances after her mother and Lady Diana Spencer, a many times great-aunt who was also a prospective Princess of Wales. Within the family, she was also known informally as Dutch, a reference to her duchess-like attitude in childhood. Diana was 7 years old when her parents divorced. Her mother later began a relationship with Peter Shand Kidd and married him in 1969. Diana lived with her mother in London during her parents' separation in 1967, but during that year's Christmas holidays, Lord Althorp refused to let his daughter return to London with Lady Althorp. Shortly afterwards, he won custody of Diana with support from his former mother-in-law, Lady Fermoy. In 1976, Lord Althorp married Rain, Countess of Dartmouth. Diana's relationship with her stepmother was particularly bad. She resented Rain, whom she called a bully. On one occasion Diana pushed her down the stairs. She later described her childhood as very unhappy and very unstable, the whole thing. Diana was initially homeschooled under the supervision of her governess, Gertrude Allen. She began her formal education at Silfield Private School in King's Lynn, Norfolk, and moved to Riddlesworth Hall School, an all-girls boarding school near Thetford, when she was 9. She joined her sisters at West Heath Girls' School in Sevenoaks, Kent, in 1973. She did not perform well academically, failing her O-levels twice. Her outstanding community spirit was recognized with an award from West Heath. She left West Heath when she was 16. Her brother Charles recalls her as being quite shy up until that time. She showed a talent for music as an accomplished pianist. She also excelled in swimming and diving, and studied ballet and tap dance. The couple had residences at Kensington Palace and Highgrove House, near Tetbury. On November 5, 1981, Diana's pregnancy was announced. In January 1982, 12 weeks into the pregnancy, Diana fell down a staircase at Sandringham, suffering some bruising, and the royal gynecologist Sir George Pinker was summoned from London. The fetus was uninjured. Diana later confessed that she had intentionally thrown herself down the stairs because she was feeling so inadequate. On June 21, 1982, Diana gave birth to the couple's first son, Prince William. She subsequently suffered from postpartum depression after her first pregnancy. Amidst some media criticism, she decided to take William, who was still a baby, on her first major tours of Australia and New Zealand. This means that she liked him. Diana was initially homeschooled under the supervision of her governess, Gertrude Allen. She began her formal education at Silfield Private School in King's Lynn, Norfolk, and moved to Riddlesworth Hall School, an all-girls boarding school near Thetford, when she was 9. She joined her sisters at West Heath Girls' School in Sevenoaks, Kent, in 1973. She did not perform well academically, failing her O-levels twice. Her outstanding community spirit was recognized with an award from West Heath. She left West Heath when she was 16. Her brother Charles recalls her as being quite shy up until that time. She showed a talent for music as an accomplished pianist. She also excelled in swimming and diving, and studied ballet and tap dance. Diana first met the Prince of Wales, later Charles III, Elizabeth II's eldest son and heir apparent, when she was 16 in November 1977. He was then 29 and dating her older sister, Sarah. Charles and Diana were guests at a country weekend during the summer of 1980 and he took a serious interest in her as a potential bride. The relationship progressed when he invited her aboard the royal yacht Britannia for a sailing weekend to Cowes. This was followed by an invitation to Balmoral Castle, the royal family's Scottish residence, to meet his family. She was well received by the Queen Mother and the Duke of Edinburgh. Charles subsequently courted Diana in London. He proposed on February 6, 1981 at Windsor Castle, and she accepted, but their engagement was kept secret for 2.5 weeks.
Che Guevara was an Argentinian-born, Cuban revolutionary leader who became a left-wing hero. A photograph of him by Alberto Corda became an iconic image of the 20th century. Ernesto Guevara de la Serna, known as Che Guevara, was born on the 14th of June 1928 in Rosario, Argentina into a middle-class family. He studied medicine at Buenos Aires University and during this time traveled widely in South and Central America. The widespread poverty and oppression he witnessed, fused with his interest in Marxism, convinced him that the only solution to South and Central America's problems was armed revolution. In 1954 he went to Mexico and the following year he met Cuban revolutionary leader Fidel Castro. Guevara joined Castro's 26th July movement and played a key role in the eventual success of its guerrilla war against Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista. Castro overthrew Batista in 1959 and took power in Cuba. From 1959 to 1961, Guevara was president of the National Bank of Cuba, and then Minister of Industry. In this position, he traveled the world as an ambassador for Cuba. At home, he carried out plans for land redistribution and the nationalization of industry. A strong opponent of the United States, he guided the Castro regime towards alignment with the Soviet Union. The Cuban economy faltered as a result of American trade sanctions and unsuccessful reforms. During this difficult time, Guevara began to fall out with the other Cuban leaders. He later expressed his desire to spread revolution in other parts of the developing world, and in 1965 Castro announced that Guevara had left Cuba. Guevara then spent several months in Africa, particularly the Congo, attempting to train rebel forces in guerrilla warfare. His efforts failed and in 1966 he secretly returned to Cuba. From Cuba he traveled to Bolivia to lead forces rebelling against the government of René Barrientos Ortuño. With U.S. assistance, the Bolivian army captured Guevara and his remaining fighters. He was executed on the 9th of October 1967 in the Bolivian village of La Higuera and his body was buried in a secret location. In 1997 his remains were discovered, exhumed and returned to Cuba, where he was reburied. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958, in Gary, Indiana. He was the eighth of 10 children born to Joseph Jackson, a crane operator, and Catherine Jackson, a homemaker and a devout Jehovah's Witness. Both of Jackson's parents previously had musical aspirations themselves. Catherine played clarinet and piano and had aspired to be a country singer, while Joseph was a guitarist who performed in local airway bands. They encouraged their children to pursue musical ambitions, and Jackson's career in music began at the age of 5 under his father's encouragement. Almost all of Jackson's siblings made marks in the music industry, including Rebbe, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, LaToya, Marlon, Randy, and Janet Jackson. His brother Brandon, Marlon's twin, died shortly after birth. Joseph pushed his children hard to succeed, making them rehearse 5 hours a day after school, and was reportedly known to become violent with them. He was said to beat them with a belt buckle or electric kettle cord and to order them to break a branch off a tree if they got a dance step wrong so he could hit them with it. The Jackson 5, seen performing around 1969, included brothers Tito Jackson, Marlon Jackson, Michael Jackson, Jackie Jackson, and Jermaine Jackson. Getty Images. Joseph molded his sons into a musical group in the early 1960s that would later become known as the Jackson 5. At first, the Jackson family group consisted of Jackson's older brothers Tito, Jermaine, and Jackie. Jackson joined his siblings when he was 5 years old and emerged as the group's lead vocalist. He showed remarkable range and depth for such a young performer, impressing audiences with his ability to convey complex emotions. They officially became the Jackson 5 when older brother Marlon joined the group. Jackson and his brothers spent endless hours rehearsing and polishing their act. At first, the Jackson 5 played local gigs and built a strong following. They recorded one single on their own, Big Boy, with the B-side You've Changed, but the record failed to generate much interest. The group moved on to working as the opening act for Airplay artists such as Gladys Knight and the Pips, James Brown, and Sam and Dave. Many of these performers were signed to the legendary Motown record label, and the Jackson 5 eventually caught the attention of Motown founder Berry Gordy. Impressed by the group, Gordy signed the group to his label in early 1969. Jackson and his brothers moved to Los Angeles, where they lived with Gordy and with Diana Ross of the Supremes as they got settled. The Jackson 5 made its first television appearance during the 1969 Miss Black American pageant, performing a cover of It's Your Thing. Their first album, Diana Ross Presents the Jackson 5, hit the charts in December 1969, with the single I Want You Back reaching No. 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart shortly afterward. More chart-topping singles quickly followed, such as ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. For several years, Jackson and the Jackson 5 maintained a busy tour and recording schedule, under the supervision of Gordy and his Motown staff. The group became so popular that it even had its own self-titled cartoon show, which ran from 1971 to 1972. Jackson also popularized the robot dance after using the move during a 1973 performance of the song Dancing Machine on The Mike Douglas Show. Despite the group's great success, there was trouble brewing behind the scenes. Tensions mounted between Gordy and Joseph over the management of his children's careers, with the Jacksons wanting more creative control over their material. The group officially severed ties with Motown in 1976, though Jermaine remained with the label to pursue his solo career. Now calling themselves the Jacksons, the group signed a new recording deal with Epic Records. By the release of its third album for the label, Destiny, 1978, the brothers had emerged as talented songwriters. By the turn of the century, Jackson was increasingly becoming known for his eccentricities, which included wearing a surgical mask in public. In 2002, Jackson made headlines when he seemed confused and disoriented on stage at the MTV Video Music Awards. In 2002, he received enormous criticism for dangling his baby son blanket over a balcony while greeting fans in Berlin, Germany. In a later interview, Jackson explained that we were waiting for thousands of fans down below, and they were chanting they wanted to see my child, so I was kind enough to let them see. I was doing something out of innocence. In 2003, Jackson encountered more legal woes when he was arrested on charges related to incidents with a 13-year-old boy. He faced 10 counts in total, including lewd conduct with a minor, conspiracy to commit child abduction, false imprisonment, and extortion. The resulting 2005 trial was a media circus, with fans, detractors and camera crews surrounding the courthouse. More than 130 people testified.
Elena Nora Hadid was born on April 23, 1995, in Los Angeles, California, to Jordanian real estate developer Mohammed Hadid and Dutch former model Yolanda Hadid, née Van den Herik. Through her father, she claims descent from Dair al-Omer, Prince of Nazareth and Sheikh of Galilee. She has a younger sister, Bella, and a younger brother, Anwar, both of whom are also models. She also has 2 older paternal half-sisters, Marielle and Alana. She and her siblings were raised on a ranch in Santa Barbara. The family moved to Beverly Hills after 10 years. In 2013, Hadid graduated from Malibu High School, where she was captain of the school's varsity volleyball team, as well as an equestrian. After high school, she moved to New York City to study criminal psychology at the new school. She suspended her studies to focus on her modeling career. Hadid's modeling career began when she was 2 years old after being discovered by Guess co-founder, Paul Marciano. She started modeling for baby Guess before stopping to concentrate on school. She returned to modeling in 2011. She resumed working with Marciano, and was named the face of a 2012 Guess campaign. She has shot 3 campaigns with Guess as an adult. After signing to IMG Models in 2013, Hadid made her New York Fashion Week debut in February 2014, walking for Desigual. In the same month, she got her break in high fashion on the cover of Karina Reutefeld's CR fashion book. On July 15, 2014, she starred alongside actor and model Patrick Schwarzenegger in fashion designer Tom Ford's I Wear Autumn/Winter campaign. She co-hosted the Daily Front Rose Fashion Media Awards event held in New York City on September 5, 2014. She has also starred in campaigns for Tom Ford FW 2014, Tom Ford Velvet Orchard Fragrance and Tom Ford Beauty 2014. She was featured on the cover of Galore magazine in 2014. Hadid revealed in 2014 that she has Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Ukrainian self-styled prankster Vitaly Serdyuk lifted her off the ground from behind in 2016 under the pretense of a prank, and she was commended on how she defended herself from him. On November 7, 2022, Hadid deleted her Twitter account, saying on Instagram, "For a long time, but especially with its new leadership, it's becoming more and more of a cesspool of hate bigotry, and it's not a place I want to be a part of." Hadid dated Australian singer Cody Simpson from 2013 to May 2015. She appeared in his music videos for Surfboard and Flower. She dated American singer Joe Jonas from May to November 2015, during which time she directed his band DNCE's music video for Cake by the Ocean. She began dating English singer Zayn Malik in late 2015. They broke up and reconciled multiple times. She appeared in Malik's music video for Pillow Talk. They starred on the August 2017 cover of American Vogue, making them the third couple to appear together on a Vogue cover. It courted controversy because of Vogue misnaming them as gender fluid, for which Vogue apologized. They also did a Versace campaign as a couple, with Hadid as the photographer. In April 2020, she confirmed that she and Malik were expecting their first child during an interview on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, after rumors began to circulate of her pregnancy. Their daughter was born in September 2020. The family spent a majority of their time on a farm in rural New Hope, Pennsylvania, where Hadid's mother and younger sister also own land. In October 2021, Malik entered a no-contest plea to 4 charges of harassment against Hadid's mother, Yolanda. He was sentenced by a Pennsylvania court to 360 days of probation and anger management and domestic violence programs. Hadid and Malik reportedly ended their relationship after the incident. Since September 2022, Hadid has been linked with Leonardo DiCaprio as they were photographed together on the streets of Paris. On November 20, 2016, she hosted the American Music Awards alongside Saturday Night Live Alan J. Farrow. She received backlash for an impression of Melania Trump during the show, and later apologized. In December 2016 she made her second appearance at the Victoria's Secret fashion show, earning her wings for the first time, and in the same month she won the award for International Model of the Year at the British Fashion Awards, presented to her by Donatella Versace. Obama was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. After graduating from Columbia University in 1983, he worked as a community organizer in Chicago. In 1988, he enrolled in Harvard Law School, where he was the first black president of the Harvard Law Review. After graduating, he became a civil rights attorney and an academic. teaching constitutional law at the University of Chicago Law School from 1992 to 2004. Turning to elective politics, he represented the 13th District in the Illinois Senate from 1997 until 2004, when he ran for the U.S. Senate. Obama received national attention in 2004 with his March Senate primary win, his well-received keynote address at the July Democratic National Convention, and his landslide November election to the Senate. In 2008, after a close primary campaign against Hillary Clinton, he was nominated by the Democratic Party for president and chose Joe Biden as his running mate. Obama was elected over Republican nominee John McCain in the presidential election and was inaugurated on January 20, 2009. 9 months later, he was named the 2009 Nobel Peace Prize laureate, a decision that drew a mixture of praise and criticism. Obama's first-term actions addressed the global financial crisis and included a major stimulus package, a partial extension of George W. Bush's tax cuts, legislation to reform health care, a major financial regulation reform bill, and the end of a major U.S. military presence in Iraq. Obama also appointed Supreme Court Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan, the former being the first Hispanic American on the Supreme Court. He ordered the counterterrorism raid which killed Osama bin Laden and downplayed Bush's counterinsurgency model, expanding airstrikes and making extensive use of special forces while encouraging greater reliance on host government militaries. After winning re-election by defeating Republican opponent Mitt Romney, Obama was sworn in for a second term on January 20, 2013. In his second term, Obama took steps to combat climate change, signing a major international climate agreement and an executive order to limit carbon emissions. Obama also presided over the implementation of the Affordable Care Act and other legislation passed in his first term, and he negotiated a nuclear agreement with Iran and normalized relations with Cuba. The number of American soldiers in Afghanistan fell dramatically during Obama's second term, though U.S. soldiers remained in Afghanistan throughout Obama's presidency. During Obama's terms as president, the United States' reputation abroad and the American economy improved significantly, although the country experienced high levels of partisan divide. Obama left office on January 20, 2017, and continues to reside in Washington, D.C. His presidential library in Chicago began construction in 2021. Since leaving office, Obama has remained active in Democratic politics, including campaigning for candidates in various American elections. Outside of politics, Obama has published 3 best-selling books: Dreams from My Father, 1995, The Audacity of Hope, 2006, and A Promised Land, 2020. Rankings by scholars and historians, in which he has been featured since 2010, place him in the middle to upper tier of American presidents. As president, Obama advanced LGBT rights. In 2010, he signed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell Repeal Act, which brought an end to Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy in the U.S. Armed Forces that banned open service from LGBT people. The law went into effect the following year. In 2016, his administration brought an end to the ban on transgender people serving openly in the U.S. Armed Forces. A Gallup poll, taken in the final days of Obama's term, showed that 68% of Americans believed the U.S. had made progress on LGBT rights during Obama's 8 years in office. Obama substantially escalated the use of drone strikes against suspected militants and terrorists associated with Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. In 2016, the last year of his presidency, the U.S. dropped 26,171 bombs on 7 different countries. Obama left about 8,400 U.S. troops in Afghanistan, 5,262 in Iraq, 503 in Syria, 133 in Pakistan, 106 in Somalia, 7 in Yemen, and 2 in Libya at the end of his presidency. According to Pew Research Center and United States Bureau of Justice statistics, from December 31, 2009, to December 31, 2015, inmates sentenced in U.S. federal custody declined by 5%. This is the largest decline in sentenced inmates in U.S. federal custody since Democratic President Jimmy Carter. By contrast, the federal prison population increased significantly under Presidents Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush. William Bradley Pitt was born on December 18, 1963, in Shawnee, Oklahoma, to William Alvin Pitt, the proprietor of a trucking company, and Jane Etta, née Hillhouse, a school counselor. The family soon moved to Springfield, Missouri, where he lived together with his younger siblings, Douglas Mitchell, born 1966, and Julie Neal, born 1969. Born into a conservative Christian household, he was raised as Southern Baptist and later oscillated between agnosticism and atheism. He later reconciled his belief in spirituality. Pitt has described Springfield as Mark Twain country, Jesse James country, having grown up with a lot of hills, a lot. Pitt first gained recognition as a cowboy hitchhiker in the Ridley Scott road film Thelma Louise, 1991. His first leading roles in big-budget productions came with the drama films A River Runs Through It, 1992, and Legends of the Fall, 1994, and the horror film Interview with the Vampire, 1994. He gave critically acclaimed performances in David Fincher's crime thriller Seven, 1995, and the science fiction film 12 Monkeys, 1995. The latter earned him a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor and his first Academy Award nomination. Pitt found greater commercial success starring in Steven Soderbergh's heist film Ocean's 11, 201, and reprised his role in its sequels. He cemented his leading man status starring in blockbusters such as the historical epic Troy, 2004, the romantic crime film Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 2005, the horror film World War Z, 2013, and the action film Bullet Train, 2022. Pitt also starred in the critically acclaimed films Fight Club, 1999. Pitt found greater commercial success starring in Steven Soderbergh's heist film Ocean's 11, 201, and reprised his role in its sequels. He cemented his leading man status starring in blockbusters such as the historical epic Troy, 2004, the romantic crime film Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 2005, the horror film World War Z, 2013, and the action film Bullet Train, 2022. Pitt also starred in the critically acclaimed films Fight Club, 1999. Babel, 2006, The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, 2007, Burn After Reading, 2008, Inglourious Basterds, 2009, The Tree of Life, 2011, and The Big Short, 2015. Pitt received Academy Award nominations for his performances in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, 2008, and Moneyball, 2011, and he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for playing a stuntman in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019. In a 2006 global industry survey by AC Nielsen in 42 international markets, Pitt, together with Jolie, were found to be the favorite celebrity endorsers for brands and products worldwide. Pitt has appeared in several television commercials. For the US market, he starred in a Heineken commercial aired during the 2005 Super Bowl. It was directed by David Fincher, who had directed Pitt in Seven, Fight Club, and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Other commercial appearances came in television spots including Acura Integra, in which he was featured opposite Russian model Tatiana Sirocco, as well as SoftBank, and Edwin Jeans. In 2014, Pitt's stylish villain roles inspired Vijay in playing a similar character in Indian film Khadi. On June 2, 2015, the minor planet 29132 Brad Pitt was named in his honor. Beginning in 2005, Pitt's relationship with Angelina Jolie became one of the world's most reported celebrity stories. After Jolie was confirmed to be pregnant in early 2006, the intense media hype surrounding the couple reached what Reuters, in a story titled The Brangelina Fever, called the point of insanity. To avoid media attention, the couple flew to Namibia for the birth of their daughter Shiloh, which was described by a paparazzi blog as the most anticipated baby since Jesus Christ. Similarly, intense media interest greeted the announcement of Jolie's second pregnancy 2 years later. For the 2 weeks Jolie spent in a seaside hospital in Nice, reporters and photographers camped outside on the promenade to report on the birth. Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro was born on February 5, 1985 in the São Pedro parish of Funchal, the capital of the Portuguese island of Madeira, and grew up in the nearby parish of Santo Antonio. He is the fourth and youngest child of Maria Dolores dos Santos Viveiros de Aveiro, a cook, and José Denise Aveiro, a municipal gardener and part-time kitman. His great-grandmother on his father's side, Isabel de Piedade, was from the island of São Vicente, Cape Verde. He has one older brother, Hugo, and two older sisters, Elma and Liliana Cacia. His mother revealed that she wanted to abort him due to poverty, his father's alcoholism, and having too many children already, but her doctor refused to perform the procedure, as abortions were illegal in Portugal at that time. Ronaldo grew up in an impoverished Catholic Christian home, sharing a room with all his siblings. As a child, Ronaldo played for Andorinha from 1992 to 1995, where his father was the kitman, 10, and later spent 2 years with Nacional. In 1997, age 12, he went on a 3-day trial with Sporting CP, who signed him for a fee of £1,500. He subsequently moved from Madeira to Alcochete, near Lisbon, to join Sporting's youth academy. By age 14, Ronaldo believed he had the ability to play semi-professionally and agreed with his mother to cease his education to focus entirely on football. With a troubled life as a student and living in Lisbon area away from he didn't complete schooling beyond the 6th grade. While popular with other students at school, he had been expelled after throwing a chair at his teacher, who he said had disrespected him. 1 year later, he was diagnosed with tachycardia, a condition that could have forced him to give up playing football. Ronaldo underwent heart surgery where a laser was used to cauterize multiple cardiac pathways into one, altering his resting heart rate. He was discharged from the hospital hours after the procedure and resumed training a few days later. At age 16, Ronaldo was promoted from Sporting's youth team by first-team manager Laszlo Belloni, who was impressed with his dribbling. He subsequently became the first player to play for the club's under-16, under-17 and under-18 teams, the B team and the first team, all within a single season. A year later, on September 29, 2002, Ronaldo made his debut in the Primeira Liga, against Braga, and on 7th of October, he scored 2 goals against Moreirense in their 3-0 win. Over the course of the 2002-03 season, his representative suggested the player to Liverpool manager Gerard Houllier and Barcelona president Joan Laporta. Manager Arsene Wenger, who was interested in signing Ronaldo, met with him at Arsenal Stadium in November to discuss a possible transfer. Manchester United manager Alex Ferguson was determined to acquire Ronaldo on a permanent move urgently, after Sporting defeated United 3-1 at the inauguration of the Estadio José Alvalade in August 2003. Initially, United had planned to sign Ronaldo and loan him back to Sporting for a year. Having been impressed by him, the United players urged Ferguson to sign him. After the game, Ferguson agreed to pay Sporting £12, £24 million for what he considered to be one of the most exciting young players he had ever seen. A decade after his departure from the club, in April 2013, Sporting honored Ronaldo by selecting him to become their 100,000th member. During the 2014-15 season, Ronaldo set a new personal best of 61 goals, starting with both goals in Madrid's 2-0 win over Sevilla in the UEFA Super Cup. 181, he subsequently achieved his best-ever goal-scoring start to a league campaign, with 15 goals in the first 8 rounds. His record 23rd La Liga hat-trick, scored against Celta Vigo on 6 December, made him the fastest player to reach 200 goals in La Liga, reaching the milestone in 178 matches. After winning the 2014 FIFA Club World Cup, Ronaldo received the 2014 Ballon d'Or, joining Johan Cruyff, Michel Platini and Marco van Basten as a 3-time recipient. Madrid finished in second place in La Liga and exited at the semi-final stage in the Champions League. In the latter competition, Ronaldo extended his run of scoring away to a record 12 matches with his strike in a 2-0 win against Schalke 04. He scored both of his side's goals in the semi-finals against Juventus, where Madrid were eliminated 3-2 on aggregate. With 10 goals, he finished as top scorer for a third consecutive season, alongside Messi and Neymar. On 5 April, he scored 5 goals in a game for the first time in his career, including an 8-minute hat-trick, in a 9-1 rout of Granada. His 300th goal for his club followed 3 days later in a 2-0 win against Rayo Vallecano. Subsequent hat-tricks against Sevilla, Espanyol and Getafe took his number of hat-tricks for Madrid to 31, surpassing Di Stefano's club record of 28. He finished the season with 48 goals, winning a second consecutive Pichichi and the European Golden Shoe for a record 4th time.
Akosa, Mandela was born into the Temple royal family in Mvezo, Union of South Africa. He studied law at the University of Fort Hare and the University of Witwatersrand before working as a lawyer in Johannesburg. There he became involved in anti-colonial and African nationalist politics, joining the ANC in 1943 and co-founding its Youth League in 1944 after the National Party's white-only government established apartheid, a system of racial segregation that privileged whites. Mandela and the ANC committed themselves to its overthrow. He was appointed president of the ANC's Transvaal branch, rising to prominence for his involvement in the 1952 Defiance Campaign and the 1955 Congress of the People. He was repeatedly arrested for seditious activities and was unsuccessfully prosecuted in the 1956 treason trial. Influenced by Marxism, he secretly joined the banned South African Communist Party, SACP. Although initially committed to non-violent protest, in association with the SAP he co-founded the militant Umkhonto we Sizwe in 1961 and led a sabotage campaign against the government. He was arrested and imprisoned in 1962, and, following the Rivonia trial, was sentenced to life imprisonment for conspiring to overthrow the state. Mandela served 27 years in prison, split between Robben Island, Pollsmoor Prison, and Victor Verster Prison. Amid growing domestic and international pressure and fears of racial civil war, President F. W. de Klerk released him in 1990. Mandela and de Klerk led efforts to negotiate an end to apartheid, which resulted in the 1994 multiracial general election in which Mandela led the ANC to victory and became president. Leading a broad coalition government which promulgated a new constitution, Mandela emphasized reconciliation between the country's racial groups and created the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate past human rights abuses. In April 1982, Mandela was transferred to Pollsmoor Prison in Tokai, Cape Town, along with senior ANC leaders Walter Sisulu, Andrew Milongeni, Ahmad Kathrada and Raymond Mhlaba. They believed that they were being isolated to remove their influence on younger activists at Robben Island. Conditions at Pollsmoor were better than at Robben Island, although Mandela missed the camaraderie and scenery of the island. Getting on well with Pollsmoor's commanding officer, Brigadier Munro, Mandela was permitted to create a roof garden. He also read voraciously and corresponded widely, now being permitted 52 letters a year. He was appointed patron of the multiracial United Democratic Front, UDF, founded to combat reforms implemented by South African President P.W. Botha. Botha's National Party government had permitted colored and Indian citizens to vote for their own parliaments, which had control over education, health and housing, but black Africans were excluded from the system. Like Mandela, the UDF saw this as an attempt to divide the anti-apartheid on racial lines. The early 1980s witnessed an escalation of violence across the country, and many predicted civil war. This was accompanied by economic stagnation as various multinational banks, under pressure from an international lobby, had stopped investing in South Africa. Numerous banks and Thatcher asked Botha to release Mandela, then at the height of his international fame, to defuse the volatile situation. Although considering Mandela a dangerous arch-Marxist, Botha offered him, in February 1985, a release from prison if he unconditionally rejected violence as a political weapon. Mandela spurned the offer, releasing a statement through his daughter Zinzi stating, "What freedom am I being offered while the Organization of the People, ANC, remains banned? Only free men can negotiate." Mandela oversaw the formation of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate crimes committed under apartheid by both the government and the ANC, appointing Tutu as its chair. To prevent the creation of martyrs, the commission granted individual amnesties in exchange for testimony of crimes committed during the apartheid era. Dedicated in February 1996, it held 2 years of hearings detailing rapes, torture, bombings and assassinations before issuing its final report in October 1998. Both de Klerk and Mbeki appealed to have parts of the report suppressed, though only de Klerk's was successful. Mandela's administration inherited a country with a huge disparity in wealth and services between white and black communities. Overpopulation of 40 million, around 23 million lacked electricity or adequate sanitation, and 12 million lacked clean water supplies, with 2 million children not in school and a third of the population illiterate.
Charles Spencer Chaplin Jr. was born on April 16, 1889 to Hannah Chaplin, née Hill, and Charles Chaplin Sr. His paternal grandmother came from the Smith family, who belonged to Romani people. There is no official record of his birth, although Chaplin believed he was born at East Street, Walworth, in South London. His parents had married 4 years previously, at which time Charles Sr. became the legal guardian of Hannah's first son, Sidney John Hill. At the time of his birth, Chaplin's parents were both music hall entertainers. Hannah, the daughter of a shoemaker, had a brief and unsuccessful career under the stage name Lily Harley, while Charles Sr., a butcher's son, was a popular singer. Although they never divorced, Chaplin's parents were estranged by around 1891. The following year, Hannah gave birth to a third son, George Wheeler Dryden, fathered by the music hall entertainer Leo Dryden. The child was taken by Dryden at 6 months old, and did not re-enter Chaplin's life for 30 years. Chaplin's childhood was fraught with poverty and hardship, making his eventual trajectory the most dramatic of all the rags to riches stories ever told, according to his authorized biographer David Robinson. Chaplin's early years were spent with his mother and brother Sidney in the London district of Kennington. Hannah had no means of income, other than occasional nursing and dressmaking, and Chaplin Sr. provided no financial support. As the situation deteriorated, Chaplin was sent to Lambeth Workhouse when he was 7 years old. Chaplin's childhood in London was one of poverty and hardship. His father was absent and his mother struggled financially. He was sent to a workhouse twice before age 9. When he was 14, his mother was committed to a mental asylum. Chaplin began performing at an early age, touring music halls and later working as a stage actor and comedian. At 19, he was signed to the Fred Karno Company, which took him to the United States. He was scouted for the film industry and began appearing in 1914 for Keystone Studios. He soon developed the tramp persona and attracted a large fan base. He directed his own films and continued to hone his craft as he moved to the S&A, Mutual, and First National corporations. By 1918, he was one of the world's best-known figures. In 1919, Chaplin co-founded distribution company United Artists, which gave him complete control over his films. His first feature-length film was The Kid, 1921, followed by A Woman of Paris, 1923, The Gold Rush, 1925, and The Circus, 1928. He initially refused to move to sound films in the 1930s, instead producing City Lights, 1931, and Modern Times, 1936, without dialogue. His first sound film was The Great Dictator, 1940, which satirized Adolf Hitler. The 1940s were marked with controversy for Chaplin, and his popularity declined rapidly. He was accused of communist sympathies, and some members of the press and public were scandalized by his involvement in a paternity suit and marriages to much younger women. An FBI investigation was opened, and Chaplin was forced to leave the US and settle in Switzerland. He abandoned the tramp in his later films, which include Monsieur Verdoux, 1947, Limelight, 1952, A King in New York, 1957, and A Countess from Hong Kong, 1967. Chaplin wrote, directed, produced, edited, starred in, and composed the music for most of his films. He was a perfectionist, and his financial independence enabled him to spend years on the development and production of a picture. His films are characterized by slapstick combined with pathos, typified in the tramp's struggles against adversity. Many contain social and political themes, as well as autobiographical elements. He received an honorary Academy Award for the incalculable effect he has had in making motion pictures the art form of this century in 1972, as part of a renewed appreciation for his work. He continues to be held in high regard, with The Gold Rush, City Lights,
Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. was born on November 20, 1942, at St. Mary's Hospital in Scranton, Pennsylvania, to Catherine Eugenia Jean Biden, née Finnegan, and Joseph Robinette Biden Sr. The oldest child in a Catholic family, he has a sister, Valerie, and two brothers, Francis and James. Jean was of Irish descent, while Joseph Sr. had English, Irish, and French Huguenot ancestry. Biden's paternal line has been traced to stonemason William Biden, who was born in 1789 in Westbourne, England, and emigrated to Maryland in the United States by 1820. Biden's father had been wealthy and the family purchased a home in the affluent Long Island suburb of Garden City in the fall of 1946. But he suffered business setbacks around the time Biden was 7 years old, and for several years the family lived with Biden's maternal grandparents in Scranton. Scranton fell into economic decline during the 1950s and Biden's father could not find steady work. Beginning in 1953 when Biden was 10, the family lived in an apartment in Claymont, Delaware, before moving to a house in nearby Mayfield. Biden Sr. later became a successful used car salesman, maintaining the family in a middle-class lifestyle. At Archmere Academy in Claymont, Biden played baseball and was a standout halfback and wide receiver on the high school football team. Though a poor student, he was class president in his junior and senior years. He graduated in 1961. At the University of Delaware in Newark, Biden briefly played freshman football, and, as an unexceptional student, earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1965 with a double major in history and political science.
Biden is considered a moderate, center-left Democrat. Throughout his long career, his positions have been aligned with the center of the Democratic Party. In 2022, journalist Sasha Eisenberg wrote that Biden's most valuable political skill was an innate compass for the ever-shifting mainstream of the Democratic Party. Biden has proposed partially reversing the corporate tax cuts of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, saying that doing so would not hurt businesses' ability to hire 489,490, but he supports raising the corporate tax only up to 28% from the 21% established in the 2017 bill, not back to 35%, the corporate tax rate until 2017. 491, he voted for the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Biden is a staunch supporter of the Affordable Care Act, ACA. He has promoted a plan to expand and build upon it, paid for by revenue gained from reversing some Trump administration tax cuts. Biden's plan aims to expand health insurance coverage to 97% of Americans, including by creating a public health insurance option. While Biden did not support national same-sex marriage rights while in the Senate, having voted for the Defense of Marriage Act, he opposed proposals for constitutional amendments that would have banned same-sex marriage nationwide. Biden has supported same-sex marriage since 2012. As a senator, Biden forged deep relationships with police groups and was a chief proponent of a police officers' Bill of Rights measure that police unions supported but police chiefs opposed. In 2020, Biden also ran on decriminalizing cannabis, after advocating harsher penalties for drug use as a U.S. senator. The first 8 months of his presidency, Biden's approval rating, according to Morning Consult polling, remained above 50%. In August, it began to decline and lowered into the low 40s by December. The decline in his approval is attributed to the Afghanistan withdrawal, increasing hospitalizations from the Delta variant, high inflation and gas prices, disarray within the Democratic Party, and a general decline in popularity customary in politics. On August 26, a suicide bombing at the Kabul airport killed 13 U.S. service members and 169 Afghans. On August 27, an American drone strike killed 2 ISIS-K targets, who were planners and facilitators, according to a U.S. Army general. 380, on August 29, another American drone strike killed 10 civilians, including 7 children. The Defense Department initially claimed the strike was conducted on an Islamic State suicide bomber threatening Kabul airport, but admitted the suspect was harmless on September 17, calling its killing of civilians a tragic mistake.